Hello my dears, welcome to this week's training video. This one I will go no good. Hello my dears, welcome to this week's training video. This week I want to talk to you about keeping going and keeping the faith with any transition in life. Obviously people will take learnings from this and the fact that I'm a trans woman who's been transitioning for 5 years now and have a lot of experience in helping others and stuff, but this doesn't just go to transgender people, this goes to anyone who's going through any change in life and they just need some reminders about the fact that, the change that they're making is one for the better self. So the first thing I wanted to share with you before I go into the takeaways that I want you to give you in this training session is there is a real psychological need for humans to feel like they're making progress. I think if you want to be fulfilled and if you want to feel that you're contributing something in life, you have to feel like you're making a progress. And things can become frustrating when you feel like you're trying to make a progress and actually nothing's working for you. I said this in the last video and I'm going to keep using this saying because I think it's important for people to remember this. The power plant doesn't have energy, it generates it. And it's the same with anything that you want to achieve. If you want to run a marathon, if you want to lose 20 pounds, if you want to bench press 100 kilos, if you want to cycle one of the stages of the Tour de France, whatever it is you want to do, you have to be prepared to get out there and put the work in. And it's the same with any progress that you want to make, whether it's an entrepreneurial progress or whether it's a progress in a transition that you're making, you're still going to need to put the effort in. And it's the same with this. Specifically transgender people, you need to keep putting the effort in consistently if you want to achieve these results of being your true self. So number one I want to share with you is keep perspective. It's really difficult, especially when there's a lack of progress, for us to remember that we have this goal that we're working towards, but also, remember that you're not going to achieve what you want to achieve overnight unless it is something as simple as getting on a bike and riding again. If you haven't ridden a bike for a few years, anything that's worth doing is going to take time. And certainly with transgender people specifically, there becomes a real anger and frustration and almost a loss of hope because you're not making progress at the rate that you want to. I promise you that if you just enjoy the moment that you're in and understand that you're becoming the person that you want to become because you've made the decision, everything else is secondary. Yes, you're going to have to wait in between appointments and everything else, and your body's going to go through changes at a faster rate than you want it to, but ultimately you've made the decision to transition. So keep perspective, understand the fact that you're going to get there. You're not going to get there overnight. It's called transition, not switching. It's called that for a reason. You just don't wake up and say, oh yes, I want to live authentically as a male, and then you flick a switch. And then all of a sudden, if you've gone through, a puberty as a woman, all of a sudden your breasts have gone and your voice is deep and you've got loads of body hair and stuff, if that's the look that you want to go for. It takes time. And it's the same with trans women as well. Certainly when I started taking hormones, my body wasn't changing in the way that I expected to in terms of breast growth and stuff. And it really didn't until I stopped giving a shit about what I ate and just ate. The average trans woman, as I said in my last video, puts on 9 pounds of fat in transition. You need to do that to develop your curves in your bum and your boobs. And, once I started getting breast growth, it was quite slow as well. It took a good 4.5 years to have the 38B boobs that I have now. All natural. It all takes time. Just keep perspective about the fact that you're changing. And you'll be far happier. Point number 2 I want to say to you is to keep a plan. It sounds a bit odd, especially if you're a trans person, but all I'm going to say is, that you're going to have to get referred by your GP, certainly if you're going to go through this in the UK, you can go to your GP and get referred, and then they refer you to the gender clinic, and then you're going to have to see at least 2 psychologists who will give you a diagnosis of being a trans woman, and then they'll refer you to another one for a surgical assessment if that's the route that you want to go down. These are really easy, simple to follow processes on your road to being a trans person or the person that you want to be. You need to bear that in mind and keep going. But even if you're like a non-binary person and you're just happy you're just happy and you don't want to be gendered, you don't want to have a gender marker on your birth certificate, you want to be titled MX and stuff, it's the same principle. You might not want to go through a hormonal and surgical change, and if you don't, kudos to you. If that's what you want to do, then express that. But also you're going to need to keep a plan. Tell a friend who's really close to you who will get you, because that will prepare you and you'll feel the burden of having told someone, and then they might be able to be with you when you tell family and friends that you're worried about telling. And then it's all about updating your doctors and the silly things like the dentists and the council tax and all that kind of stuff in this country if you're living in this country. And it's the same in the USA, if you're changing your passports and everything else. It's like, have a plan, because if you have a plan, you will be able to keep focus in times when you're struggling with your transition, whatever it is. Certainly this is very trans-specific at the moment, but you want to cycle 100 kilometers, build it up slowly. You're going to have to watch what you're eating in your diet, and you're going to have to plan training sessions and stick to your plan. I promise you that keeping a plan will help you keep focused when you're struggling. So the second point, keep a plan. The third point I want to emphasize is stay persistent. There's a very famous Winston Churchill saying, if you're going through hell, keep going. And especially as a transgender person, the amount of times when I've just wanted to say, do you know what, I can't be bothered with this because it's not worth the hassle that I'm getting, and I would have far less hassle if I didn't transition. Ultimately, yes, transition is a very selfish thing to do, but you're becoming the person that you've always wanted to be, and that's the whole point. So just stay persistent, keep sticking to your plan, and be persistent, and don't give up. I promise you that everyone who gives up before they achieve their goals are actually so close to achieving their goals. It's, most people don't succeed because they quit just before they're about to succeed. And it's the same for you. It's called transition, remember? It's not called switch. Stay persistent, stick to your plan, keep others around you who are going to support you. Seek out support of your peers. Like I said in my first training video, if you're struggling, contact me. I have a website, I have Facebook, I have Twitter. There's a contact form on our website. You can reach out to me and I will try and help you through this. But stay persistent. If you don't stay persistent, you're not going to achieve your goal, and it would be a real shame if you didn't persist and stay on your path to living your truth. And the fourth and final one, I can't emphasize this one enough, and I will say this every video if I have to, because it's going to help someone every video I do share this. Patience. You have to be patient. You can't expect to be the perfect version of what you're trying to achieve straight away. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to mess up. It's life. No one is perfect at something from the off. When you're first learning to drive a car, especially if it's a manual car and you're having to do gears and clutch changes and accelerating and stuff, you're going to stall the car, you're going to make a kangaroo. There are going to be times when you want to quit because you're finding it difficult. And it's the same with the transition, whatever it is, whether it is cycling 100 miles or running a marathon or losing 20 pounds, you're going to plateau. There are going to be times when you absolutely get so frustrated in it, or whether it's bench pressing 50 kilos, whatever physical or mental challenge it is, there are going to be times when you're going to want to give up. That's the time to remember what your goal is. Look at your plan again, and remember that nothing is ever achieved without persistence. If you don't stay on track, and remember that it's okay to take a step back. What you can also do as well is, if you don't achieve a step for whatever reason, you can always go back to the previous step and then make another step that's halfway in between the thing that you wanted to achieve. For example, if you've been bench pressing 30 kilos and you want to go up to 40, and then you find that too much, you can always come back and start bench pressing 35, and then when you get comfortable in 35, move up to 40. And it's the same with any transition. You know, there have been times in my physical transition when I've become very, very frustrated at my lack of progress. Certainly with breast development as well, as a classic example. You know, I didn't really have much for 2.5 years. And then when they still did start growing, for the first maybe 6 months, they were like an A cup, and then all of a sudden they just went boom. They just boomed all of a sudden. And it's going to be the same for you. You just have to keep going, be patient, enjoy the person that you're becoming, and then eventually, you know, you're going to blossom into who you want to be, and it's worth it. I promise you, all this pain you're feeling, all this fear that you're feeling is worth it, because when you look back and you see how far you've come, I promise you that's one of the most valuable things that you can do. I'm not saying look back and get anxious at lack of progress, but sometimes it's good to look back, especially when you're feeling down, and see how far you've actually come. So I hope that you found this training video useful. If you do like the video, then subscribe so you can get further updates and training sessions from me. There is going to be an article on my website, debbiecannon.co.uk, that goes along with this training video as well. So you can take that and print that off and hopefully use that when you're struggling. All I want to say to you is thanks for watching, and I look forward to sharing the next training video with you next week. Be yourself, no one else, and I look forward to sharing it with you soon. Take care. Bye. Defying gravity.